Alright, what's going on YouTube? So for today's video, I actually wanted to follow up to my last video, talking about the accolades of the One Piece live action, and how this series really did a lot of good for live action adaptations of anime as a whole, and the results speak for themselves. Just the pure amount of success that this show has generated is insane. I think no one was expecting it, and it's just really cool to see. You know, people actually enjoy a live action of anime for once. But why exactly did everyone enjoy this live action adaptation of anime so much more than all the others that have come before it? My theory is that it's not so much related to the actual contents of the show, rather than the purely genius marketing that went into the One Piece live action before and after its release. So yeah, let's get into it, shall we? I feel like if you just look at the very beginning of when this show got announced, them announcing a One Piece live action was kind of insane. The first thing going through my head was, how are they gonna do Usopp's nose, you know? Like, I'm just thinking of all the wacky, crazy designs of these One Piece characters, and like, how is that gonna translate into live action? You know, like, it kind of baffled me as to how this series of all series got announced for an adaptation. But yeah, once it got announced, we didn't hear too much after. But then slowly, once the show was starting to get closer to its release, you know, we get word of Oda being involved, him releasing a few letters that were handwritten by him, you know, with a little doodle on there, on Twitter, talking about his involvement with the show, and obviously stating how much he cares about it and how much he actually wants it to succeed, and how busy he's been working on it while still continuing his manga One Piece. And I feel like that alone there, like just knowing that Oda's involved and not just hearing about it, but seeing it from Oda-san himself, was enough for a lot of people, well, a lot of One Piece fans specifically, to be on board. But then there was more. We got more interviews, podcasts of the directors, the showrunners, the script writers that are working on this show, talk about how they've been working with Oda and how much they really do care about One Piece itself. And I've mentioned this before in some of my previous videos, but I feel like a lot of people, when they look at live action adaptations of anime, they think, oh, Hollywood's trying to make a cash grab out of this anime. And they think that Hollywood is approaching something that we know and love with bad intent, to only make money off of it, not be faithful to it, steal money from normal people that don't even know the source material and how great that is, right? So they go into these live action adaptations with that mindset, thinking, oh, where this is coming from, where this adaptation comes from is a bitter place. And that alone is enough for them to hate on it and be like, yeah, this series is gonna be trash, or this movie's gonna be trash because Hollywood just wants to cash grab. They don't even understand anime or the source material, yada, yada, yada. So to hear the showrunners and directors say, oh, well, we really do care about One Piece, we really do love the show, this is such a huge opportunity for us, yada, 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 that was enough for a lot of people to be like, oh, well, they actually do want this show to be good. They actually do care about how this show is written, how this show is, you know, being made. And that was enough to change their hearts and be like, you know, maybe I will give it a shot. Maybe I will give it a try. And the thing is, most people won't even hear about that. They'll just see a One Piece live action show on Netflix and be like, oh, there's a One Piece live action? They're not gonna know all the nitty gritty details about showrunner, director, interviews and stuff like that. But I also feel like what the marketing did really well was make sure that a lot of One Piece fans knew about these interviews and about these podcasts and about all this information. And they did a really, really good job of making sure that everyone knows that the people working on this show are big fans and do really care about it being good. So they went that extra step above and beyond to not only, again, come at it from a place of wanting to make it good, but they made sure that you knew that that's the place they're coming at it from. And I think that was another big step in the genius marketing for this show. Now, if that was all that they did, honestly, that probably would have been enough, but they went further. They went above and beyond, getting the original voice actors of the Straw Hats to do the Japanese dub, seeing the actual voice actress of Luffy meet with the live action Luffy, Iñaki Godoy. Crazy, a crazy moment. Seeing Iñaki Godoy on a Shonen Jump cover magazine with a manga rendition of Luffy, like them side by side, like Oda drew that himself just for that promotion. That level of marketing is insane. Like, imagine being an actor on the Straw Hats crew for the live action of One Piece and then getting on the cover of a Shonen Jump magazine. That's insane. But again, it's just good marketing. You know, you want your fans of One Piece to know that there's a live action of it being made, you don't want it to just be for one audience. You want it to be for every fan of One Piece. Not just, you know, the people that are on Netflix, but the manga readers too. Getting a booth at Anime Expo, again, one of the biggest anime conventions ever, that's a huge deal. That is good marketing, because people that are gonna wanna watch this are fans of anime. And, you know, it's just, when it comes to the marketing of this show before it's released, I feel like they took every right step that they could. And, you know, that was really good on them. There's also other things like, you know, they did collab videos with, you know, big YouTubers in the anime scene community, with some of the directors and show writers and stuff that are working on the show. It's those things there that, you know, just really show like, okay, they're really trying to reach every single anime and One Piece fan that they can, to let them know that this show is going into it being made out of love, you know? And it's stuff like that where it's like, you can't necessarily reach every fan, but they really tried hard, you know, reaching into like YouTubers in the scene. I mean, they didn't reach out to me, but, you know, whatever. You know, going to Anime Expo and anime conventions and just everything. Like, they did an amazing job with the marketing. And I feel like that kind of was more important than the actual contents of the show. I'm not gonna get too much into the show itself. If you guys wanna know how I felt about it, my honest opinion, I made a review video, so go watch that. But I do feel like the marketing of this show was so impressive that if the show was like really bad, like hot garbage, I feel like it honestly may have stood on some legs, rather than if the show was amazing but didn't have any of the amazing marketing choices that, you know, Netflix decided to make with the show. Because again, everyone would probably still look at it from the perspective of like, oh, they're just cash grabbing it. They're not making it One Piece, you know, they're not doing something out of the goodness of the source material. They're just doing it for their own benefits. And they would just try to hate it before they even watched it, before they even knew anything about it, because that's what most people do for most live action adaptations of anime. So in a way, I kind of feel like a lot of the reason why people think this is the best live action adaptation of anime ever made is because of the marketing. I don't even really think that people digest the show and the fact that it might not be that great, especially compared to source material. I feel like they just kind of get wrapped up in the marketing and the amount of effort and work that went into it. And, you know, they just kind of incorporate that into the experience of watching it, which just makes them think of it as a great show, a great experience. And there's nothing wrong with that. But I feel like for me, since I've been covering this show coming out, it's been easier for me to separate the marketing, the things that they've done, and the show itself. Therefore, I've been able to look at the show by itself and kind of point out the things I liked, I didn't like. And, you know, just in general, I've been talking about shows, anime, films, etc. Somewhat professionally for a little bit now. So that's also kind of made it easier to separate the show from the marketing and the overall experience. But for the average person, I feel like that's not so easy. And I think that's why a lot of people just look at this show and think, man, this was amazing, 10 out of 10. And nothing wrong with that. But I think for future adaptations, they gotta look at this and be like, okay, we need to take some notes, because this was such a huge step in making this a success. And I really do feel like it would help with a lot of the future live action projects that are coming. Like, I always think, man, if Cowboy Bebop had the creator on board, the marketing like more on point, like it just, I really think it would have been a lot more successful than it was. And even talking about some other live action adaptations based on an anime or manga, for example, Alice in Borderland, I feel like a lot of people don't even realize that Alice in Borderland, the show, is actually based on a manga. And also there's an anime of Alice in Borderland. So it's like, you know, again, there's that marketing problem. But I do kind of feel like this is something that's seemingly going to be solved, or at least being tackled by producers with these upcoming anime live action adaptations. Because I remember in a few of my recent videos covering the Death Note live action adaptation that's coming from the creators of Stranger Things, I remember them saying that either the producer or someone that's also working with them to make the adaptation was like living in Japan and like giving them that extra layer of authenticity. And I feel like that's probably what they're going to try and go for, as well as future directors and show writers and just companies working on these live action adaptations of anime. After seeing what One Piece did and what it could accomplish, I feel like this is definitely going to set the bar for what other film companies need to do to make their adaptation successful. Whether they choose to take notes and learn from it or disregard it is up to them. But I do feel like that extra step with the marketing for One Piece really helped that show succeed. And I think it will help a lot of these other live action adaptations adaptations as well. So like with the My Hero live action film, you know, maybe get the creator on board, you know. With the One Punch Man live action film, same thing, you know, maybe a little bit of words from the creator would go a long way. But yeah, what do you guys think about anything I had to say in this video? Do you agree that the marketing actually played a more integral role in the success of the One Piece live action? Or do you think that the show itself stands on its own as one of the greatest live action adaptations of anime ever made, and that without all the marketing it would still be as praised as it is today? Let me know in the comments below. Please leave a like on the video and subscribe if you haven't already. That helps me out a ton. And as always, thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it, and I'll see y'all in the next video.